Thank you for answering my question. Ajahn, I wanted to ask something pertaining to when you are aware of your thoughts or when you are aware of the habit energy going into the rumination of a certain particular scene in the past. Although it's easy to hear you say that when thoughts come, know that the nature of thoughts is they are impermanent, they are not me, they too will pass, it's not self. I As I practice mindfulness, it becomes clear to me also that this mind is quite devout. It does bring up the certain things that this person say and how come he haven't paid me back the money, should I ask? I don't want to be a doormat. Maybe I should ask, or maybe I should just pray and send metta. So sometimes I find when you're aware that your mind seems to be like on the surface of the water that is experiencing quite a bit of ripples, how then, although I'm aware of the nature of thoughts, how then may I practice to be as steady as or in retreat settings, because living a lay life, it's not so easy to shut down the mind so quickly. Yeah. So please guide me as I find my way. Thank you, Ajahn.
Well, I think you understand the problem very well. Our mind is sometimes doing what we want, other times it's all over the place and it's always reacting to our situations. Sometimes it is like we're just absorbing all these problems and just keep holding on to them, thinking about them, and we don't have any happiness at all. And you've seen that. So that's your starting point. You say, oh, this is suffering. Can I do anything about it? And that's where we come to the practice of training in mindfulness, right effort, letting go of the negativity. So that comes from the understanding of karma, that if we don't do anything about it, well, it tends to keep bringing us stress and suffering and maybe even gets worse over time. So with all these different factors of the path helping each other, there's right view, right effort, right mindfulness, we can do something by practice. And what I was encouraging is, say, through the Vasa, set up your own schedule to do a bit more meditation, maybe once in the morning, once in the evening, every day. So you keep coming back to this point of establishing mindfulness using a meditation object, such as the breath, or loving kindness, or the body, for example, and developing this ability to see your mind, know it as mindfulness comes up, and thereby strength of mind to let go of things so that you don't keep ruminating on the same old stuff. So you start to see some space between different mind moments, mental states, and you might have some periods where you experience some real calm, where you've let go of what you were formerly or used to be holding on to, and you can see, oh, I can do it. But the only way to experience that is practice, and you have to be patient and keep doing it. But because so many people have benefited from it, why not give it a try if you've come this far and you see the problem? And what you'll also find is if you have once or twice a day where you do some formal meditation practice, even if it's not for that long, but it's a start, then during the rest of your day you will naturally be more mindful, more aware of yourself. And as things come up that sometimes make us scattered or get caught lost in our moods and our thoughts, that amount of time where you're lost will begin to decrease, be less, because you're overall more mindful, and you'll start to notice when you're getting caught in a mood of stress, worry, anger, or desire, or frustration in one way or another. You'll notice quicker. You observe yourself more, and you'll start to want to pull back from those different moods you're getting caught into. And it's a gradual process, but if you develop some personal discipline around the meditation practice. Say for 3 months, that's about 90 days, every day, once or twice a day. I mean, you can do more if you can, but at least once or twice a day. I'm sure you'll find over that period, even though it won't always be easy, you'll probably find, though, that your level of overall awareness, mindfulness, and some understanding will grow. And you, sooner or later, you'll see some results from that. I guarantee if you practice sincerely, you'll find you do notice that you're experiencing more results. You're able to let go better, be more patient with yourself, more forgiving of yourself, forgiving of others, more able to accept things that are difficult to accept, and have this inner peace that maybe becomes more clear to you.
Sadhu Lumpur. Are there further questions? Ajahn, the computer is not in the Lumpur's line of sight. So if you're typing in, actually Lumpur can't see it. I would encourage you to please ask the question directly so that you could explain to Lumpur as well. Okay. Malika, can you mute yourself, please?
Dad, I just want to ask, like during the Vasa season, if you want to take 5 precepts, and then can you add any more precepts to it? Because sometimes with health issues and things like that, it's hard to keep the 8 precepts. But with meditation and all that, we can do the meditation. But whether it's possible? Thank you, Ajahn. I'm sorry for this.
Look like one of those unexpected situations. Of course, there's some flexibility in the practice. The more confident we become in the practice, the more we do it, the more you understand how you can use training rules, guidelines, precepts to your advantage. So the 5 precepts are like, you might say, the minimum, basic, that we all try to keep. And you, as you say, maybe the 8 precepts are a little too difficult most days, not to eat after noon, to avoid entertainments and so on, or maybe your sleeping arrangements are not so convenient most of the time for 8 precepts. That's understandable, but you can introduce maybe just one extra rule for yourself on top of the 5 precepts. So you may decide not to eat after noon for a period of time, or you may try to keep the 7th precept, and cut out entertainments, but you're still eating in the evening just to give yourself strength because you're used to having 3 meals a day, say. But you cut out all other things like wearing jewelry, perfumes, engaging in sports, entertainments, and so on. You may simplify your life in the areas you can do, and you may take on some rules, or you may decide to sleep on a simple bed, but you still have to eat in the evening, or you still have entertainments, but you're sleeping on a simple bed. You can look at where you can improve your practice, or you may create a new rule for yourself that's particularly helpful to you. So you may do something like 1 day a week you just say, I'm not going to talk to anyone, not out of anger, but just to train yourself to limit your talking to people. Or you might say 1 day a week, or through the Vasa, I'm not going to use certain social media apps, WhatsApp or Facebook or different apps that we might use. So you're not adding a precept in the traditional way, but you're just making a rule for yourself during the Vasa, using a specific period of time to train yourself to set aside an activity or a habit that you find distracting or brings you obstacles to your practice. Or you might decide, I'm not going to accept any invitation to any social function for 3 months. So you may still eat in the evening at home, but you're not going out to dinner or out to any social function. And you tell all your friends that so they know what you're doing, and you're just simplifying your life. You can create the precept or the rule to help you. as well as the traditional 5 precepts or 8 precepts. You have choice there. There's no one way of doing this. You can think what you need, what helps you, and then put it into practice.
Because sometimes, because I take 8 precepts once a week, but I just want to do it more during the Rasa season. That's why I wanted to ask this question. And then during the other times when I want to do something, whether I can choose mine. So it's very helpful, Ajahn, very helpful. Yeah, thank you. Without socializing, I can do that. It's easy for me. Yeah. Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you so much.
Sadhu. Okay. Could I now invite Nirosha? Nirosha, can you unmute yourself?
Good evening, Ajahn. You talk about the mastery of mind through meditation practice. I would like to know how to gain mastery of mind. That means stop thinking when we want. And does one has to be a stream winner to stop the mind? And if not, how to progress from there onwards to reach certain levels of the path? Thank you, Ajahn.
Well, the simple answer is practice a lot, do it a lot. So obviously if you're living a lay life and you have work commitments and so on, there's more challenges, but try and develop a regular meditation practice and become familiar with your meditation object so that you can turn to it at will. Keep your mind there at will. That's your aim for longer and longer periods. So, and that may include while you're doing other activities as well. You can stay with the breath or with your recitation of Buddha or whatever other meditation object you use. And you may, you don't have to be a noble one or a sotapanna to do this. It's about training in mindfulness, and with the arising of piti and sukha more, as you experience more states of calm, that will help. And you're becoming more and more familiar. So when you're quiet, you say you have a break during your day when you're not working or you don't have to do any particular activity, you can sit there and spend a few moments with your breath, rather than picking up the phone, looking for someone to talk to, looking for something to busy yourself with. If it's possible, when you have free moments, your mind can go back to its meditation object. Or when you're with people and having a conversation, but then there's a break in the conversation, nothing much needs to be said, can you go back to your meditation object then? As you practice more, that opportunity arises. You can actually quite naturally go to your meditation more and more, your object more and more, and you developing mindfulness in that way, and the familiarity with the mind that is letting go of hindrances and distractions. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's the direction we can go. That's developing samadhi. But of course, you don't necessarily have to develop deep samadhi to contemplate the Dhamma. And so the other half of the practice is contemplation, learning to contemplate, to see, say, the impermanence of a particular reaction or mood that's come up, to watch it, observe yourself and say, oh, how long will this last? And then watch it pass away. And to observe, the truths that the Buddha was pointing to in daily life. So observe how things come and go, changes in the situations of your day, your life, how things start and end. Just contemplating the Dhamma will also help. So mindfulness and then wisdom, these two qualities work together, and we just develop them as much as we can, even while we're working, even while we're shopping, traveling. You have jobs to do, and a lot of them are very repetitive. You've done them before, so it's not like you have to learn any new skills and concentrate hard on learning new things. Often it's stuff that you know what you're doing. So you're going shopping, you can have a shopping list that you've already planned, and you go and shop and you're just collecting items on that list. It's not a very complicated task, but while you're doing it, you keep mindful with the walking, as you're choosing items, filling up your basket or whatever. You're doing that mindfully, keeping your mind restrained, keeping aware of what you're thinking as well as choosing the items. Go back, pay at the checkout, go back to your car. You know, you can do all that as a practice in mindfulness. And similarly with other kind of repetitive tasks, it's quite doable to practice mindfulness as you do those tasks because you know them. And it's about practice. It's about regular practice and bringing up more mindfulness into your day and watching your mind, observing yourself through the day.
Can I please invite Yao Chang? You are a little girl. Do you want to ask a question?
Yes.
Oh, please
Yes.
go.
To ask a question. Yes, I want to ask a question. Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can, yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
How to meditate longer? How to meditate longer?
How do I what?
Meditate longer.
You have to make a plan. How long can you meditate for now? What's the longest you can sit meditation for now?
I don't know now.
Well, can you remember when you last tried meditation, how long could you sit for? Was it like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, longer?
Not that long.
5 minutes? Can you do 5 minutes?
No.
Not even 5 minutes. 3 minutes? Can you do 3 minutes?
I think 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, we start there. You have to start somewhere. So you make a plan. You say, I'm going to sit meditation for 2 minutes. And maybe you have a clock nearby so you can check yourself. You say, what am I going to do for these 2 minutes? So the first task is I've got to sit still and not move around. Or if I move, I just move a little bit, but I don't get up and walk away. I'm going to sit here in this posture that I've formed. I'm sitting cross-legged, say. I'm going to sit here for the next 2 minutes, and I have a clock next to me. And maybe a good thing to do in those 2 minutes is count your breathing. So you have to find the feeling of the breath. You take a deep breath in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So you find the feeling at the tip of your nose. You breathe in and you start counting. 1. Breathe out. 2. Breathe in. 1, 2. Breathe out. 2. Breathe in. 3. Breathe out. 3. So pairs of in-breaths and out-breaths, counting for 2 minutes. So you got your clock near you, you can check how long you're sitting. You don't move for 2 minutes, you have to sit still and you have to complete, and then you have to be aware of the breaths in, breaths out by counting. I would start with something very simple like that, just learning to sit still. If you find closing your eyes is too difficult, or keep your eyes open and count the breaths. 1, so that's a pair. 2, for 2 minutes. And later on you might extend it to 3 minutes or 4 minutes if you get better at it. So it's like you set yourself very short-term goals, small goals to start with. And don't worry, if you keep going, you'll get better at it, because Ajahn could only sit for 3 minutes when he started, and now he can sit for 3 hours if he wants. That took 40 years or more than 40 years. But if you start small, maybe you'll get better and bigger and better at it over time.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yao Chan, are you still on? You're not on anymore. I'll be curious to know how old she is.
Sorry?
I'll be curious to find out her age.
Oh, yeah. How old?
I don't know.
We don't know. Never mind.
Oh, she's just typed in. She's 6.
6, okay. Well, Dhamma the Malian was enlightened at 7, so you've got a year to get ready. Dhamma the Malian was this little boy I was telling you about earlier, the novice who became very peaceful and then contemplated his hair dropping to the ground as he had his head shaved to become a novice. And so he became enlightened as a novice. He was one of 3 novices that the Buddha gave special ordination to because they were so advanced, so mature in their practice. The Buddha invited them over the course of his life. There were 3 occasions he invited these very special advanced novices to become monks, and it was to protect them. Because when you're a novice and you're still a teenager, often older people don't give you that much respect. They assume you don't know much, you're not very good. But actually he was an arahant. And so to protect these 3 different novices, the Buddha made them monks. It's like a very special favor he conferred upon them because they're so mature, so wise, so peaceful. It's basically to protect them because they did a lot of good work for the Sangha and they helped many people, and he wanted to make sure it was convenient for them because they were like leaders, but they're very young leaders, so they needed a bit of help.
Thank you, Paul. I remember years ago when trying to teach my young children how to meditate, I used to play a trick on them. I used to give them a discount. And I said, whatever age you are at, just do half. If you're 7, just do 3.5 minutes. If you're 10, you just do 5 minutes. And I thought that worked. So to a point that if they can sit, 20 minutes, that's good enough.
You just have to start somewhere. As I said, this is the truth. I started with just 3 minutes because already 3 minutes was agony. So if I can build up to many hours, I'm sure other people can build up to something.
Exactly. Great. Can I please invite Ray Fang to unmute yourself? Great, thank you.
Hi, Long Paul. Can I just, can you hear me if you don't mind? Yes, can you hear me, Long
I
Paul?
can hear you. Yes.
Thank you very much. Long Paul, I just wanted to check with you, what are some of the chants a beginner can practice? Maybe you can just recommend a few that we can actually start. I have been practicing metta, but is there a difference between reciting the chant versus the discourse? Yes, which one can you advise? Thank you.
With chanting, if it's a group occasion, well, you probably just follow along whatever the group is chanting. But if you're on your own, you have freedom. You have freedom to choose the chants that you like, that you find inspiring. So it could be what we call reflection on universal well-being, loving kindness, ahang sukhito homi, nidu ko homi, and so on. Or it could be the Metta Sutta, the discourse on loving kindness. So you could chant that in Pali, or you could chant in English. So you have choices here based on what you find works for you, makes you feel inspired, motivates you. But if you're not sure, what I would also encourage you to chant regularly is the recollection of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. The chant Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma. Right down to the Dhamma and then the Sangha. So that you'll find that in the chanting book. That chant is not very long, it's just a couple of minutes if you do the whole 3 sections. And it kind of covers everything. It's reaffirming your faith in the Buddha and the Dhamma and the Sangha. And traditionally it's just considered such a powerful chant. The Devas love to listen to it. We feel aroused, energized by chanting it. It helps us not to fall asleep. It helps us not to be scattered. It brings our mind together in samadhi as we chant. So often they say chant as many times as you have years in your life. So if you're 30 years old, chant 30 times. If you're 100 years old, chant 100 times. If it's your birthday, chant that many times. If it's a normal day, well, maybe chant 3 times or 9 times. You've got flexibility here, and you make a decision to improve your effort by chanting however many times you think will help you to concentrate your mind, try harder, use your time well. And if you learn it off by heart, then you can chant any time. In a bus, as a passenger in a car, quietly to yourself when you're sitting somewhere, even with other people around, you quietly chant it to yourself. As you're walking down the street, all kinds of situations, as well as actually when you're meditating or sitting in front of a Buddha statue. All these situations you can chant, a chant like that, or other chants that you find inspiring, of course, you can do as well. And you might find it becomes the very thing you go to when your mind is in trouble. Say if you learn to chant Iti Piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho, you know the words off your heart, and then you're in a situation where you're panicking, or you're afraid, or you're nervous, or you can't sleep at night, or you've got some big decision to make and you've got to calm your mind, or you've got some problem in your life and you don't know what to do, chant Iti Piso. And so many people have benefited from this. At the very least, it calms you down. It helps you to think of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Brings up wholesome thoughts in your mind at a time when you may be stressed or panicking or whatever. So it's both a meditation, it's a way of arousing faith and wholesome states of mind. And when you can't think of anything else, you've got a problem you just can't solve, you can't think it through, you don't know what to do, chant Iti Piso first to calm yourself, bring the mind to a wholesome state. If you're afraid, do it. I often tell the story of the Australian monk who I was with in the forest, and he met the tiger, and the tiger was sitting right in front of him, not letting him walk away, and the tiger was threatening him, breathing heavily, very close, with shiny eyes, and the monk was so scared he couldn't think straight, he didn't know what to do, and his knees were shaking, and he was holding a little candle lantern to see because it was late at night, and his hand was shaking, and he said his mind literally just panicked. He couldn't think straight. He thought he might actually go crazy at that moment. So he chanted. He thought, what can I do? I'll chant Iti Piso Bhagava Arahang. So you see, the first benefit is if you learn a chant off by heart, it's there, ready for you to use any time. By chanting that over and over again, he steadied his mind so he didn't run and maybe cause the tiger to chase after him or attack him. He just stood still, stopped his knees shaking, chanted Iti Piso, and while he was chanting, the solution arose all by itself. He didn't have to think, what do I do? He just chanted. And as he was chanting, the tiger, which was crouching in front of him, big tiger, started to walk past him because they're on a very narrow pathway on the side of a mountain, so they couldn't really cross paths very easily, but the tiger just brushed past him, right past him, and went round the back of him. Meanwhile, he's just standing there chanting Iti Piso, and then the tiger turns round and crouches ready to pounce again, but now behind him. And he looked behind, he saw the tiger as he's chanting Iti Piso, but then he looked ahead and he said, oh, now the pathway is open. So he carried on chanting Iti Piso and just started very slowly stepping out. The tiger was right behind him, but it didn't follow him. So he slowly stepped out. Iti Piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho. And he walked and walked very slowly, very gently, so as not to disturb the atmosphere or annoy the tiger. And the tiger just watched. It didn't follow him. So when he got 50 meters away and he knew he was a long way from the tiger and he was still chanting Iti Piso, he started to walk faster. Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma, and he's walking faster and chanting faster. Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma, and in the end he just ran. And Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharana Sampano Sukhato Lokavito Anutaro Purisa Dhammasarati. This is, if you learn a chant by heart, you can use it in any situation. Slow version, medium version, fast version, and it'll get you away from a tiger maybe. So that's a good one to start with.
Sadhu Lumpur. I think that's a very nice one to end with.
Okay, well I hope this Vasa that you all learn some new chants and you do regular meditation and just improve your practice and really use the time well, especially with the pandemic. You've got more opportunity just to practice and find inner freedom rather than looking for those outer freedoms of the pre-COVID world. So tonight we'll finish there and wish you all well, and we'll just pay respects to the Triple Gem.